good one. I've got a spicy one.
Is this week special in that regard? Is it special that we've got a good one?
Yes. I mean, let's face it, if I come to this show bringing anything that I'd consider quality chat, I believe it's a momentous occasion.
At this point, we're just happy when you bring one. It doesn't even have to be a good one.
Yeah, true. I'm a disappointment. Anyway,
no.
I was just fishing for attention and sympathy. It's how I sustain myself. Anyway, today I received something I ordered for wrestling. Because I've got my comeback coming soon.
Sorry, I
heard
tuned out for a second.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did I say...
You got your comeback.
Does it come? Yeah.
Yeah, you got back your come.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I forgot to take the estrogen this morning, so... coming out of me like Niagara Falls.
Sorry to have broken your flow. You've got your comeback coming up.
Yeah, so...
Sounds like the flow was reversed.
Oh.
Right, I've got...
Something came in the post.
So yes, I'm coming back to the ring. I am gearing up for my return to wrestling in Leeds on July 18th. I don't know if they've announced the match yet, but I will just say that myself and Kid Bandit is front and centre on the poster. You do the mathematics. I wanted to look a little bit different from usual. Just like have a change to the jumpsuit. And I thought instead of the all silver, it might be interesting to throw in a bit of black, because I had been playing the Commander a little bit darker, not fully heelish, but with a bit of a healy edge. So I thought, you know what, black jumpsuit with the white boots and the white gloves and the star mask, and some sort of colour for the skirt area could be quite fetching. And rather than go and get something commissioned, because it's so hard to find like decent wrestling gear makers who aren't booked for like a year with doing everyone's outfits and stuff. So I was like, I will just get a black jumpsuit off the rack. Now, if I want a black jumpsuit, there's one, shall we say, genre of clothing I could go to.
Oh, yeah.
To ensure that I will get a nice, shiny black jumpsuit.
Oh, yeah, and one that can stand up to a bit of tumbling around with another person.
Yeah, a little bit of rough and tumble, a little bit of being put through its
if
paces.
some implements make it into the ring, it's going to withstand a bit of a beating.
Yeah, if I do get my comeback at any point, it can be washable. Quite, just wiped down. So yes, I bought a fetish oriented jumpsuit. And on its own merits, and certainly combined with the gloves and the mask and all of that, it's a black jumpsuit. And I'm probably, I'll put some stuff on it so that it's not plain black. Because that was the idea, get a foundation and build the outfit off it, just to save a lot of time. And I don't need to just sit through getting measured for the plain jumpsuit. There's one issue with it that I think might give the game away. And I come to you today, not in that sense. I stand before you with a question, with seeking advice. Can you think of any wrestling-based excuse, or indeed any justification I might have for wearing a wrestling gear that has a zipper specifically on the arse ring? There's no getting around it.
I would start at, when I defeat you, I'm gonna make you kiss my ass.
You see, I think that could work if it was like a proper flap like Long John. There is no earthly way that's not a fucking hole.
Is this just a fucking hole?
It's a fucking hole.
Okay.
It is specifically centered on the Prime Directive. It's amazing. I mean, I'm glad. I thought that might be a risk because the pictures seemed to suggest it might have a hole. I am glad in one way that it's not what I feared, in that it wasn't even zip up, it was just a constant access area.
Yeah, that's tougher to deal with.
But then I could at least patch that.
Well, a zipper could be removed and seamed in.
Well, that's the thing.
My
Fee said they can stitch it, but
my first thought was, you open the zipper, you put like a tail through it,
yes,
and you make this into like a your wrestling persona has turned a little bit fursona.
I will admit the thought had crossed my mind. Put in a little tail, and you know what? The only way it would come out of the hole suitably would be if it was a butt plug. Let's face it, rooster tail butt plug.
Yeah,
obviously.
but you have to hope that people don't think like they'll be distracted by the tail and not see the zipper.
Yeah. Plus,
rooster or peacock would be amazing for you.
Peacock would go very well with the outfit, definitely. I think if I had a bird tail butt plug, while we're having that moral debate, I think I would go with peacock.
Yeah,
definitely. I think also if it is a particularly long tail, if we are indeed doing a death match, a hardcore match like we had done last time, I can pull it out and start beating her with the heavy end. Because I only use stainless steel.
See, I like the idea of you getting them into a submission hold and then choking them with the tail that's still in your ass.
Oh, that's good. That's good, because then it really will look like it was a deliberate choice.
Right.
And that I'm not just covering up a fuckhole. Oh, God, I can't imagine getting railed in it, though. It doesn't breathe.
Yeah, I'd imagine it'd just be a sweaty mess.
Yeah, and it needs... Oh, there's no way to say this without walking into a minefield. It needs stretching out. It's
I
a
bet
bit
it
tight.
does.
Yeah. Hey! It is a bit tight. Oh, for fuck's sake. It is tight around the shoulders. So it just wouldn't be comfortable.
Yeah.
To get stuffed with that. Almost all wrestling gear. I can't imagine it. I have worn the mask. I have.
Welcome to Podquisition.
Welcome to Podquisition.
I was going to go somewhere, and then I was like, no.
Did you think better of it?
We're introducing the show. Welcome to Podquisition. We're here. We talk about video games sometimes.
Welcome. Yeah.
I'll bring back the old intro for a minute. We tell you whether your favourite video games are great or perfect. Remember that? We used to say that all the time.
Great or perfect.
Yeah. Great or perfect. The only two review scores over here.
And if you were to ask me my opinion of Quantum Witch, I would say, buy it.
Yeah.
You don't have to if you don't.
Is that the third
thing?
Buy it?
Just for games I've worked on.
Yeah.
Quantum Witch gets a buy it out of 10. No, you don't have to, but I do just want to quickly say that is out now, and available on Steam. Quantum Witch. One issue it's had since coming out is a lot of people assume action platformer, despite us doing our best to say it isn't.
You're doing the most. You're doing the most. Like, it has a combat tutorial that very directly illustrates that combat in this game is pointless.
Yeah.
I mean, I think of this game, I think of the word platformer. I don't know how much else could have been done to go, haha, we've branded a genre here, and it's not about combat.
Well, I was explaining that to the developer, Nikki, as well. I was like, you've done your best, and people, and I've known this from years of doing media. Is you can explain a thing until you're blue in the face, and people will still have their preconceived notions, and then be disappointed based on that. But so yeah, we've had some people like talk about the game from a disappointed stance in that it wasn't what they wanted. I've absolutely adored some of the write-ups it's getting from folks that really bit off on what it's doing. And that's been lovely to see. And I will remain forever proud of being involved with that, because I think Nikki J is incredibly talented and deserves a big spotlight. And I just loved what I got to do for it. So yeah, if you are interested, listeners, Quantum Witch, I wrote a story arc for that game, one of the sort of big narrative plots for it, the village of Riverhome, and the antagonist of that chapter, Ladicalda, the water god. There's a lot of experience from both Nikki and myself in that game about sort of living as a queer person in very overtly religious places, and that comes up a lot. And it's just I loved what I got to do with that, and yeah, and also blown away by just how well fucking Date Everything's doing as well, and how much Barry Styles is loved on TikTok.
Well, before we move on,
love him.
Before we move on to Date off of Quantum Witch, I do have some more thoughts I want to
for sure.
Get in on that, because I just want to say that all of the criticisms that I had last week about the game have been addressed in the period up to release. Which is, so I have absolutely no complaints about this game anymore.
Yeah, I was talking to Nikki yesterday because we were on a live stream with Cypher of Tyr, and Nikki mentioned that, like specifically named you in the sort of folks she wanted to thank for helping with feedback and stuff. And yeah, you and someone else had mentioned like some issues they had at the beginning with knowing where to go and stuff like that. And Nikki has jumped on that feedback so quickly.
She's just on top of it, and she cares so much, and wants it to be right. And it's a great game. She's done great work. So
wonderful. I'm so glad you like it. Like, I'm so glad.
Anyway, please gush about Date Everything a little bit more.
It's just great. Like, genuinely, I'm so pleased to have been involved with a game that is enjoying just so much success. Like, critically, it's been beloved. It's from what I've heard, it's selling really well, which is great. And yeah, like today, I saw a post about Barry Styles, and all the comments were talking about how much people find him so adorable. And love really resonate with the autism coding and the ADHD that forms a big part of his story. And yeah, I also announced a new thing as well. I don't think I was clear to say it last week, but I am co-authoring the official Vampire Survivors lore book, Vampire Survivors: The Grimoire. I was originally attached to edit and consult on that, just sort of keeping narrative things straight and advising on stuff. But some of the sample text I was doing was just like folks liked it enough that everyone, including Paul Davis, the author, was like, I think Steph needs to just come on as a co-author. So yes, myself, Paul Davis, we're putting together what I think is going to very pleasantly surprise people. I've been working on this for a while now, and the stuff we are getting to do is incredible. I genuinely am convinced that this is some of my finest ever work. I can't wait for that to come out and for people to see that. But God, I'm busy. And God, it's good to just be professionally on top of things. It is good.
This is where I'm going to jump in, and I'm also going to toot my own horn for just a minute, because I had 2 games come out this week that I did credited work on as well, that I'm going to give a little nod to, because I do stuff on games. I'm going to very quickly talk about these. Go check them out. They're both out now on Steam. First one, I talked about this a while ago on Podquisition, a game called Word Atro, a Balatro-inspired roguelite, but it's Scrabble. And I did some accessibility consulting on this, and, it's rare that I can talk about things that, advice I gave that sort of made it into a finished game, but this is one I feel like I can talk about in as much as there are differences between the demo and the released version that I can go, hey, I gave feedback, and it's nice to see some of this stuff has made it into the game. Be that some additional clarity around how the gameplay speed is explained in the menu. There is additional clarity on the difference between interface language and dictionary language that are available. The game defaults to having animated backgrounds turned off by default, because that was a big motion sickness concern. You can turn them on if you want, but as default they're turned off. Screen shake is a toggle. You can turn off screen shake if that's an issue for you. There is the ability to do keyboard controls, so if you can't use a mouse, you can do entirely via keyboard controls. There are keyboard controls as alternatives to mouse on everything. Just really nice to see a bunch of feedback that I gave on that game has come together and is in the final thing. And the other one is a game called Nanomon Virtual Pet, which is a little desktop virtual pet that lives on the corner of your screen while you're doing other things. You raise them kind of like a little Tamagotchi. You play mini-games with them to level up their stats. There is a frankly ridiculous number of mini-games available, of decent depth and complexity to interact with. And then when you've finished raising your little Tamagotchi-style little virtual pet, you can do Pokemon battles with other people who have the game with their Nanomon.
That sounds very cute. I love...
It's very charming.
I've talked about Tamagotchis and things on here a lot. I love virtual pets. One of my sort of dream projects is... I've got an idea for a virtual pet that I want to make. I love them. And that is very cool that you got to work on one. And doing the... You do such important work with this consulting work you do. You really do.
It's been really nice. Like, for Nanomon, a lot of the work I did was playing a selection of the minigames and giving feedback on how to make, the mechanics clearer to understand, the sort of introductions and the UI elements, so it's easier to understand what the game is asking from you, and getting the difficulty balance correct, and making sure that things like motion sickness and input clarity and complexity were kept manageable. Fun. And just making sure that as many people as possible can interact with all these very little weird minigames. So
that is awesome.
Word Atro and Nanomon are both things that are out this week that people can check out. So
I am, as someone excited about virtual pets, do let them know that if they ever need lore, I'm their whore. I just want to work on virtual pets. That's my dream, is to make, just work with little tiny fake animals.
Having gotten to work with little tiny fake animals, I can recommend. It's good and enjoyable.
Yeah, that's very cool though. Your name's in a lot of games now, and
it's popping up here, there, and everywhere in little stuff.
Yeah,
it's been nice seeing a lot of the indie projects that I've been working on the last year or so starting to pop up, and I'm like, oh hell yeah,
yeah.
So in terms of things that we've played this week that aren't things that someone on the show worked on, If it's not rude, can I jump in? Because I played a big name one this week that I have thoughts on.
I always think we should start with the big one, like that people will.
Yeah.
Will, it's the one more people are going to be curious about. So absolutely.
Yeah. I spent the last 2 weeks playing Death Stranding 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I am honestly pretty fascinated with it. 2 words I never thought I would use to describe the work of Hideo Kojima. Kojima and restraint. Not words I thought would go together, but they feel weirdly appropriate for Death Stranding 2.
Oh, shit!
So
Sorry.
What?
Akapura did Nanomon.
Yeah, Akapura did Nanomon, yeah.
The Crypt Master people.
Yeah, a bunch of the games I've been working on recently are Akapura games.
That's fucking even more awesome. Sorry, I know I just cut in, but
no. I'm happy to be excited about this. Akapura games are like one of the publishers that keep coming back for more accessibility consulting work. So a bunch of the stuff I've done recently and will have done in the future is Akapura game stuff.
When it comes to writing and stuff, like storytelling in games, I admire them, some of the stuff they've been doing. Oh, that's so cool. Sorry, I'm fangirling out about what you did.
Yeah, I'm looking up a list of games now just to be like, I want to tell you what other ones I did that were Akapara. Because I know Cabernet was Akapara, which is a side-scrolling adventure game about wine-drinking vampires. That's pretty cool. I know there are some other ones. I'm sure I will shout some at you as I remember that they were also Akapara. Oh, sorry, my clothes was Akapara published. Yes, Death Stranding 2. Yeah, where to start with Death Stranding 2? Fundamentally, mechanically, I don't think that anyone who didn't enjoy playing Death Stranding 1 is going to be convinced by Death Stranding 2. It is still a game about, here is a little bit of plot, go for a hike for half an hour. If that is not a thing that you enjoy moment to moment, this game is not going to turn you around on that. It is clear that they have tried to win over an audience of people who were fans of Metal Gear Solid who didn't enjoy the first Death Stranding, but I don't think the changes they've made really have gone far enough that they're going to win over a sizable number of that contingent of people. For anyone who played the first Death Stranding, mechanically that game had very little combat in it. And when it did have combat, there was a real sort of attempt to not have it be about just shoot everything with guns. You couldn't really shoot the human enemies with guns because if you did and they died, they would become a ghost that if you touch them, a nuke goes off. So, like, you gotta do melee and stealth and, like, fire net guns at people to not kill them. And when you're fighting, like, the ghostly tar monsters, they're not affected by bullets, so you gotta throw, like, blood and piss grenades at them and stuff. In this, not only is there, like, more combat that exists, you can definitely ignore it. If you don't want to do the combat, you can just take a hike that goes around the combat. But there's more opportunities for combat, and both the combat with human enemies and with the monsters out the tar is both a lot more traditional in that, oh, you can shoot this assault rifle at these human enemies. Don't worry, it's special bullets that will only knock the humans out unconscious, it won't kill them. They're just knock people out bullets. And you can shoot the ghosts with your bullets as well, because we put blood in the bullets, so now they're blood bullets, so you can shoot the tar monsters with them. It clearly has made some concessions to try and make itself more palatable to people who wanted a traditional I take a gun and I shoot things element to the game. I don't think those changes are going to, in the grand scheme of things, change people's opinions of Death Stranding 2. Where I think Death Stranding 2 is really interesting is where it has gone narratively. And I kind of teased this at the start. Kojima, for the most part, really fucking holds off on being weird and overly convoluted and Kojima-y, until maybe the last 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like, when this game reaches its... I sent you a clip, Steph,
Yes,
of
you
a
You
sequence that I would maybe describe as being comparable to the Alan Wake 2 musical number, in terms of, take you off guard a little. And, like, in the last few hours, sure, there's a few things that are like that. There's a few things that are like, a character turns to the camera and goes, I bet some of you have worked out the double meaning of this, but if you haven't, here's what the double meaning is. Like, there's a little of that in its last few hours. But the vast
Kojima
majority
will not suffer people not knowing how clever he's been.
But this is the thing. Most of this game, it really feels like he had someone go, it's okay for you to have an interesting idea and to not put a spotlight on it, and to just let people mull it over.
Oh, that is promising, because that is what I want from video game auteurs, is someone who can reel them in.
Yeah. So, like, I'm gonna give you an example of where I think this game, like, narratively leans way better into its structure as a game where story happens and you go walk for half an hour. Relatively early in the game, a conversation is had, and no clear consensus is found to this, but the idea is put on the table. Should we maybe think twice about connecting Mexico to essentially the 3D printed internet? Because it seems like maybe a motivation for doing that might be the United States making Mexico dependent on US infrastructure in a way that maybe is colonialism. That it might not be, completely honest in its motivations, and it might be expanding a nation's influence by making them dependent on a resource that's controlled by a foreign government.
And let's face it, that I haven't played Death Stranding 2. The answer's yes. The answer is that's what America would do.
No, yeah, and like, there is a character who makes, like, a counter-argument as to what things have been put in place to try and counter that aspect of what's happening, and, like, we were aware of that being a perception of what we're doing, and these are the steps we took. And, like, it doesn't go into a lengthy debate back and forth of, like, ultimately who is right, are they telling the truth, are they not? They put this idea on the table, and then let you go for a walk for half an hour. And they give you time to sit and ponder, is that actually enough to fix the problem, or is that them postering over the optics of an issue? And there's a lot of, like, early, like, even just talking early on, there's a lot of little questions like that they'll just pose, won't give a solid answer to, and will just let you take a walk and think about, such as, if the US had access to a fast way to go between nations, would they behave the same way they currently do about border security, and is it their place to do so? There's a lot of very direct criticism of the United States government in this game.
Good.
That doesn't pull its punches as much as I kept waiting for, like, the what about other sidesism of it all to happen, and it just kind of didn't. And I appreciate that. And again, I think these kind of choices, they feel like Kojima had someone going, it's okay to just put the idea on the table and then just not feel the need to over-explain it or to pat yourself on the back for how smart you are. It's a good question. Don't overdo it. And now here's space to go for a walk and ponder it.
Cool.
The other thing I think this game does really well narratively is it functions really nicely as an exploration of male grief that isn't explored through the lens of violence, vengeance, and retribution. It is an exploration of male grief that is allowed to take shape as other things, as sadness, as numbness, as, feelings that we don't usually see. Playing this, I kept thinking about, like, there are countless characters that have this kind of arc. You could point at, like, Kratos from the early God of War games. I kept thinking about Joel in The Last of Us. That archetype of parental male figure that is like, I am grieving, and the answer to that is I have to murder fucking everyone, because the world has wronged me, so I can go on a killing spree until I get my vengeance. And this game really feels like a big, deliberate attempt to go, what if we had a story like that where a man just kind of had time to sit with their feelings and didn't just go murder people about it? And I really like what they do. Like, I didn't give a shit, really, about Sam Porter Bridges as a character in the first Death Stranding. He was a vehicle for a lot of Kojima plot things to happen around him.
Yeah.
I gave way more of a shit about him in this game.
This is sounding really promising.
Right? Like, I'm gonna skip ahead like a minute if you don't want to know anything, like, that's a little further into this game. It's a mild spoiler, but it's one that I think is kind of... will get you to why I think this is interesting. So, you've had your warning. Sam gets diagnosed with a real-world mental health condition related to grief. It's in the DSM, it was added to the DSM in 2022, persistent long-term grief disorder, I think it is. He gets, talked about it by name, and he matches the real-world diagnostic criteria, and the game is not afraid to go, the grief you have experienced is causing you a disabling level of grief. It is stopping you from getting through average everyday life. It is interfering with your day-to-day living. And I think they handle that really respectfully. And it's the kind of thing that I think is a good example of this game is not fucking around when it goes, we want this game to be an exploration of male grief that isn't, I'm sad so I'm gonna murder everything.
And it's also a nice break from things like the micro-Bible a day keeps the Gervin at bay. Like, all the made-up diseases and illnesses and terms, and, actually focusing on a very real contemporary mental illness is impressive.
It talks about it in real-world terms that are very respectful, that I think throughout the game, right through to its end, feel consistent with the real-world term they are using. I think this game also, as a sequel, is much better restrained on, not feeling nearly so tied up in a plot that's gonna need a half-hour explainer to explain what the fuck was going on. It almost feels sillier in this one how many characters are, named after the thing that they do. Because everything around... everything around it is just way better handled. I also think that as a sequel, this sequel treats women way better than the first game did. People joke about it, but Death Stranding 1 has one prominent female character that's around for most of the game, Fragile. She's a woman, she's fragile, she's functionally just your fast travel machine. This sequel introduces a much wider cast of female characters that are persistent throughout the narrative, who I would say are all considerably more capable than the male characters around them, but in very different ways from each other. I fucking love this game's trio of primary female characters are wonderful and fascinating. Often this feels more their game than Sam's, narratively. But yeah, as much as this is more Death Stranding, and mechanically it's not going to convince anyone who wasn't on board with, the overall pacing of that first game, I'm really sold on the sequel. My only complaint, and this is one that, again, I have one narrative complaint that I kind of want to address. It is about something pretty late in the plot. So, again, if you don't want to know anything here, skip ahead, 60 seconds, but I want to say a thing quickly. There is a point kind of late in this game where it feels like maybe Kojima is a little bit of an apologist for... He maybe thinks that it was wrong for governments to tell people to stay inside during COVID, and he wants to be a little bit, our freedoms, I should be allowed to go outside during COVID if I want. And I don't know whether that is what he was going for, but because the first game felt like such... not through any deliberate design choices, but because of when it came out, felt so intrinsically tied to being an exploration of COVID and not being able to go outside, that it's hard not to see certain late-game plot threads through that lens, and they feel a little bit, my freedoms, you can't tell me what to do. And what I will say is that is a very short thing toward the end. I don't think it outweighs the vast majority of very on-point observations this game makes that I largely agree with and think are very interesting. It's a little bit of a disappointing thing in what is otherwise, like, a game I genuinely found very, very rewarding narratively.
It sounds great. Like, it sounds really good. I wish I didn't know it was going to be, like, so long.
Yeah, I had a crack at the first Death Stranding again, because I was interested enough in the sequel where I'm like, I never played too much of the first. I might try and get through it in time for Death Stranding 2. First of all, I struggled to stick with it enough to get past, like, the first hour, and also, I don't know if I'd ever get through it.
There are two things I will say. One, I can summarize the things that you actually need to know about the first one in, like, a couple of sentences. There is a recap you can watch in-game, but ultimately all you really need to know, spoilers for Death Stranding 1, ghosts have come back to the world of the living, and if you touch them, a big explosion happens, so you gotta be careful about that. There are monsters that come out the tar, and the rain makes you old. And at the end of walking around with your little baby strapped to your chest, you were meant to throw your baby in a pod into an incinerator. You didn't. You let them out the pod. Now you're going to go off the grid and look after your baby, because you're like, fuck it. I connected the US up to the 3D printed internet. I'm done. I'm not interested. I'm going to go raise my baby. That's really all you need to know. And the other thing I will say is, if you just go, like, if you ignore all side content and just do main mission, Death Stranding 2 is about 35 hours. It's longer than Conrad probably wants. It's more manageable than I suspect Steph was maybe fearing.
Yeah, I had the opposite response to, oh, that's not bad. That's not too bad.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that I know that, like, my personality will not allow me to just do the main missions.
That's true. Yeah.
That's fair.
I suffer from that.
What I will say, this game makes it, like, if you play the full thing without doing side quests, you are then given the ability to go do all side quests in an actual post-game. So it doesn't undo your having finished the game, and you do get to just go do all that stuff.
And the thing that is so, like, kind of frustrating is I really love the gameplay of Death Stranding.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's fantastically fun and meditative and unlike anything else.
Agreed, yeah.
But it's so long. There's so much of it.
The thought I've been having, because I finished this game and then went back in and went and did a shit ton more side content. And my thought is, I wish this was on a handheld, so I could just be doing this gameplay loop, doing side quests while I'm doing other things. Like, I don't want to be monopolizing the TV to do side content in this game. As much as I enjoy the side content, and I find it enjoyable to do that loop, I kind of want to be doing it on a second screen more than I want to be giving it my full attention when I'm doing the side quests.
I take it you've been portaling a lot on it then.
Yeah, I've been using the portal a lot for. It's been a nice game for, like, I've just been playing side content since finishing it, while, like, pop a podcast on, go for a nice little walk up the mountain, have a good time. But yeah. As someone that had, like, very mixed feelings on the first Death Stranding, liked it conceptually, didn't really click with it in practice. Death Stranding 2, I'm like, I'm going to be thinking about this game at the end of this year when I'm thinking about Game of the Year stuff. I don't know if it'll stick around there, but like, it'll be in that conversation. It really impressed me. Yeah.
Awesome.
What about both of you? Who else has played something this week?
It's mostly been Cyberpunk. Like, I'm still clipping through that. I've put a lot of hours into it now, and certainly further than I got the last time I played it. I have been enjoying the way they evolve Johnny Silverhand as a character, because I know last time we talked about it when I started playing it for the first time, like a year or two ago. We were reveling in just how much of a dick Keanu Reeves gets to be in that game. And he still is, but they start building a relationship between him and V that is sweet in its own fucked up way. And I've been enjoying that a lot. I've also still just been loving how unafraid that game is to trivialize its own combat, but in a way that makes you feel fucking powerful. Yeah, I didn't play much with smart weapons last time. I've been having fun with smart weapons. I have a thing now where I'm targeting specific weak points on enemies that cause EMP explosions to come out of those body parts. Been playing the Phantom Liberty content as well, and that's been cool. Again, especially from an empowering standpoint, because it piles cool loot on you. And it's got a very fun sort of, not quite post-apocalypse, because it isn't, but it's such a shithole that it does have a very different vibe from Vice City, and does feel more dangerous as a result. So yeah, I've just been enjoying that a lot. It is nice that game eventually became what it did. And that's Cyberpunk, yeah.
Well, I've just played a couple of demos this week. The first one is called Starbirds. This is a resource management game where you are a group of birds mining asteroids. It's got a very distinct visual style, and that it is done by and I'm gonna not pronounce this correctly, Kurgsagd. In a nutshell, is a YouTube channel, and they do like science explainer videos that feature these cartoon birds. And so they have contributed the visual design for this game, and it's very cute. And the way it works is you get a little map of asteroids, and you select one, and you go down to it, and you put a little launcher pad down on one of the craters, and then there will be resources surrounding that you put extractors in, and then run pipes from the extractor to the rocket ship. The rocket ship sends the resource back to your ship, and you'll have various resource goals to get other resources that allow you to further expand, and so on and so forth. I think it's very chill. That's, I think, what they're going for. It is a very casual kind of resource management game. There's no negative force. Certainly in the demo, at least, there's nothing pushing back, no time limits, no fail conditions. Simply keep plugging away until you accomplish this goal. There's a little bit of sort of discovery involved, because you'll have the base resources, and then there will be buildings that can refine those resources either individually or in combination, so that you can get the other refinements to complete your goals, and so on and so forth. It just sort of branches out and expands in a satisfying way with a sense of discovery. The only time there's really like a challenge is trying to figure out, I've accidentally put this extractor in a place now where I can't get it to the building that I need it to because the pipes around us are in a way that I can't pass through them. Like, that's the only real collision seems to be pipes, and that's neat. It's just one sort of constraint on the player that introduces something to consider, but is not frustrating to deal with. Neat game. I like it. I'm enjoying it. I will probably check out the full thing once that comes along. The other demo I played is Super 10 Pin. And Super 10 Pin is, what if somebody made a crazy ass bowling game for the PlayStation?
Ooh.
It has all of the aesthetic and interface of a late 90s console 3D game. What it reminds me of is Stunt RC Copter by Shiny, which was a very, very strange game that nobody seemingly asked for. But the people at Shiny seemingly were really into remote control helicopters and wanted to make that rather expensive hobby accessible to other people, and made what really is a remarkably good simulation of a remote control helicopter for the PlayStation. This has that same kind of feel to it. Like, they took this bowling simulation seriously enough to get physics to be interesting and so forth, but then they went wacky with it. There are obstacles, there are bumpers that will launch your ball. You get limited control of the spin of your ball so you can redirect it, but that's based on how much power you launch the ball with. So there's also a bit of figuring out precisely how much, and you don't get a ton of spin control. It is somewhat limited. I have struggled, which is the other thing that makes me think of RC Stunt Copter, because it's a very good simulation. It's demanding, and it is going to take some effort to get a full handle on the simulation and become good at it. But I will say, for the people who get into it, I think this is going to be incredibly good, and I look forward to seeing this on Games Done Quick in a few years, when people are doing some ridiculous shit with it. So it's worth checking out the demo. It's probably not for me. I'm not going to have the patience to get through it, but I respect what they're doing. Super 10 Pin, demos on Steam. Might want to check that out.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Laura, do you have anything else?
I can very quickly touch on, it's more Playdate games, because Season 2's still going on. Laura continues to play Playdate games. So this week's 2 games that popped up on the Playdate were, the first one, Shadowgate PD. This is the NES game Shadowgate, but remade for the Playdate.
Oh, okay. My first thought was that it was like a spin-off where, like, you were a cop showing up to investigate after the events of Shadowgate.
No, it's Shadowgate PD, stands for Playdate.
Okay.
The visuals have been updated a little bit, and some of the interface stuff has been altered to work with the crank. But it's Shadowgate. It is unapologetically, unforgivingly Shadowgate. As someone who has played this once and not in a long time, I got stuck in the first room for quite a long time. Because the first room has a fucking bullshit puzzle in it. It is harsh, it is unforgiving, it is Shadowgate. It is just Shadowgate. The one that I have more to say about is the other game this week was a game called Capture Diablos, which is a game in which you are playing this cat trying to capture incoming creatures before they can deal you damage. And the way you do that is the primary control is the crank and any button on the Playdate. By just rotating the crank, you take a circle that rotates around the outside of you, and by holding down a button, the circle stays in place where it currently is, and the crank now makes you go around the edge of the circle. And if you do a full loop of the circle, you capture anything that was inside the circle at the time you complete it. So you're having to alternate between I'm moving the circle and I'm moving myself around the circle to move yourself around the level and to get enemies inside the circle and to avoid taking damage so that you can very quickly whip around the crank, do a full circle, capture the enemies. It is a very unique control scheme that took some wrapping my brain around, because it's the crank is both how you move the circle and how you move yourself. And getting your brain to switch back and forth between the two of those quickly takes a bit of getting used to. But it reminded me, it feels like a quick wave-based version of, there was a Pokemon spin-off on the DS called Pokemon Rangers, I think it was called. This reminds me a lot of Pokemon Rangers, but in more of you're in a contained space, you've got waves of enemies coming in, it's about capture a specific number of them without running out of health, and then a boss will show up that will need capturing numerous times and will have a more difficult pattern to get captured. It's a really fun game. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, that's this week's 2 things I played on the Playdate. What about you both? Have either of you played anything else?
Just more Firebreak. I'm done with it now. I posted my review and that was it. I didn't mention in the review, and I didn't mention with my words in the video I did about Friendly Fire, because it seemed so ridiculous, I thought I imagined it. But talking about how ridiculous the Friendly Fire is in FBC Firebreak, to the point where the water gun you need to spray people with can deal friendly fire if you put a perk on. I thought I imagined that the wrench you swing to fix things deals friendly fire.
Oh, that's really stupid.
It's got a wild swinging animation, and if the shower breaks and you're all in there trying to heal, and this is how I knew, because I caught it on as footage. I swang it and down. I incapped someone in the shower while we were healing because the shower had broken and needed fixing. What was going through their heads? That game is so fucked up. And then just on top of it, it's still just this boring humdrum. I put it on hard and extreme modes. It's more interesting, but still not worth it. And then I played a bit of Control to follow it up. Because, it just got me thinking about Control again. And it's amazing how in the first 20 minutes that game has more enemy variety than the game about waves of enemies. In the fully combat-focused game, combat has more variety and interesting stuff going on in Control. Yeah, just baffling. An absolutely bafflingly mundane game from Remedy. Mm-hmm.
Have you played anything else, Conrad?
Nope.
There's only really one bit of news this week, and it's ultimately unimportant, but it made me laugh, and I want to bring it up because I witnessed the first part of this story firsthand. I went into London for a work trip last week, and I was baffled by seeing some posters on the London Underground. There were a series of posters for Nintendo Switch 2 games. There was one that's the Nintendo Switch 2 out now, Mario Kart World out now. Next poster.
Oh,
Metroid Prime 4 out now.
That's incredible.
And I was surprised to see it. I was as far as I'm aware, it's not out now. Maybe it's getting shadow dropped tonight. To my knowledge, it is not out now. And it was confirmed within a day or so that this was in error. But you look at the original poster and the new poster that's been put up that just says 2025, and you can see the mistake that happened. The other posters that say out now, the out now is in exactly the same place as it is on the Metroid Prime poster. But the difference on the Metroid Prime poster is if you look behind it, you can see another shape that's shorter but slightly taller, kind of behind the out now. And suddenly it becomes obvious someone forgot to turn off a fucking Photoshop layer.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Before printing out this fucking huge London Underground poster. They forgot to turn off the out now layer to reveal the 2025 different graphic. And just sent this to the printer saying that Metroid Prime 4 was out now.
Brilliant.
And that greatly amuses me because, yeah, someone... It's such an easy mistake to make, but someone probably had a very bad day at the office when they realised that they had not clicked that button.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Well,
that's... There's not really any other news this week, it's a quiet one. It's a nice, quiet week.
Fair enough. Well, someone at Nintendo may not have clicked the button, but if our listeners click on some buttons, they might just click their way to the bevy of content and work that you produce, Laura, and maybe you could tell us about that.
Well, if you want to find the stuff I do, you can find it at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere. Patreon's the one that pays the bills. As little as $1 a month over there really helps. If you want to hear more of my in-depth thoughts on Death Stranding 2, I have about 2 hours of content that are up on the podcast Fix Your Heart or Die. The first hour starts spoiler light, and by the end of the hour has talked about maybe the first 3 to 4 hours of Death Stranding 2. The other episode, the second episode, is just... Have you either finished the game or you don't give a shit about spoilers? Cool, here's an hour of me talking in depth about, the complexities of, my thoughts on the overall narrative. If you want to hear my in-depth thoughts on the plot point I'm not such a fan of toward the end of that game, and, what exactly happens and what I think about it and how I think we got there, Fix Your Heart or Die. Go check out the Death Stranding 2 episodes of that we've got up. Other than that, go check out Word Atro and Nanomon Virtual Pet. They're both out now on Steam. What about you, Conrad? Where are you at on the internet?
Oh, you can find me at Conrad Zimmerman on Blue Sky. You can hang out with me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thatconradzimmerman. I've pretty much just been playing Spelunky 2 by this point, but I'll mix it up at some juncture. You could buy anti-capitalist propaganda that I make and Jimquisition merchandise at mercenarycreative.com. And everything that I do online gets supported through Patreon at patreon.com/fistshark. And you know who else has a Patreon? Stephanie Sterling.
This is so correct. Patreon.com/Jimquisition, which pays for this podcast, the web show, and reviews on the Jimquisition.com. As I mentioned on Monday's video, between all of these projects I'm doing, this writing career is now, we're talking career, we're talking day job. I am gonna be looking at some sabbaticals from video production. Some people seemed confused. I didn't mean immediately. Certainly, I'm thinking of towards the end of July, I'm gonna need to take some time off because I've got some moving to do and some really projects I'll be in deep on. So, yes, I will be taking the pot off the boil with some of my online media stuff, but we'll still be doing stuff to earn my keep and all of that. Speaking of those projects, as a reminder, Date Everything is out now. Quantum Witch is out now. These are 2 games I wrote for, 2 games I'm very proud to be associated with. Do check those out. I'm also working on Vampire Survivors: The Grimoire alongside Paul Davies. That's a book that will be out in the future, and my comeback. I'm getting my comeback in wrestling on July 18th. That's in Leeds. That's for True Grit Wrestling. Otherwise, check me out, Commander Sterling on Blue Sky, Insta. And I think that's it. Thank you all so much for your support, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.